is up, y'all? It is your host, Rennie, and you're listening to another episode of the Call Me Crazy podcast. What is up, guys? Today we are here at Rival in the Sono collection. So just a shout out to them, and also just, you know, kind of a preface that there are some noises that'll be happening that I have absolutely no control of. We are here before opening hours, which is great, and, you know, blessed be the day, okay? Because if it was actually open, there'd be music playing in the mall right now. There'd be people walking around and what have you. So we're really blessed with this location. Shout out to Rival. They are a vintage clothing store. They have multiple locations in the tri-state area, Jersey, New York. We're here in Norwalk, Connecticut, so they're definitely expanding. And Rocco was so gracious to let us record here after I kind of made the connection and told him a little bit about myself a couple weeks ago. I thought this was a perfect location because I'm here with my newest client on the roster, Amber Ashli, and she's a clothing stylist. So I was like, vintage clothing, we both love thrifting, so I just felt like the aesthetic and the vibe just went well together. It was very cohesive. So hi, Amber. Hey, girl. So do you prefer people call you Amber Ashli, or do you prefer people call you Amber, or like what's the lowdown on the name?
Okay, so Amber Ashli is my first and middle name, and if you know me, my family calls me Ashley, which has always been the thing, like, and then like business-wise, school-wise, people call me Amber. So when I decided to just kind of go by my authentic self, which is both my names, I said, okay, I'll do that together, and it's Amber Ashli. So I would prefer both, but I'm not gonna trip if you say Amber, if you say Ashley, it's fine.
Okay. I actually grew up without a middle name, which everyone thinks that's like so weird.
Oh, my father did too.
So my mom doesn't have a middle name. My uncle doesn't have a middle name. My grandmother doesn't have a middle name. So we all don't have middle names. I just thought that was like very normal. And then people were like, "You don't have a middle name?" And I'm like, no, it's Rennie Hunter, girl. Yeah. Sometimes I say Rennie Brown Hunter because before I legally changed my name, my mom's last name is Brown. Oh, okay. My dad's last name is Hunter. So
that's my favorite color, brown.
Brown? I love brown.
I love brown.
Brown. Oh, I'm like, hello? Clearly I love brown. Brown on brown people is just chef's kiss. It's chef's kiss, really. Kelly Green on brown people is also chef's kiss. Yeah, it's looking good.
Thank you.
So let's bring people back. How did we meet?
Okay, so we met at a fashion mixer in Fairfield, Connecticut, and I found that out on Eventbrite. So it's funny because I was looking like at my, I created this topic list for YouTube. I'm on YouTube, and I was like, you know what? Let me look on Eventbrite, see if there's any events in the area. And the Hainsey and 1.5, mixer was on there. So I ended up going to that, and I was with my sister, and I was, vlogging, and came in there, and I think I was like towards the end of it. I got there a little late, but you were there with your beautiful fro and your bubbly spirit. So it was a vibe. I mean, you guys had like champagne and then the clothing, people were chatting and networking. So that's essentially how we met. And then you were telling me like what you do, you're creative, videography, photography, just all the sorts of arts. And I was like, well, this must be like a godsend, because I was just at that point of, wanting to get back like on social media with the whole rebranding. So I was like, you know what? I want to take a meeting with her and see where this goes, and hopefully she, we can work together and be helpful to like what I'm trying to do in fashion. So that's how we met.
Yeah.
And, we started working together, obviously, and it's been a great thing ever since. So I'm blessed. And
I know. I'm blessed too. Honestly, I always say there's no coincidences. So even if we didn't start a working relationship, I knew we would work collaboratively, which we do too outside of our working relationship, or just a friendship, And for me, like all of my friends I work with all the time. So like if you notice, like Jasmine and I have like no photos together because we're always like working. So like she'll be doing my makeup, taking pictures of me, and we'll be hanging out and chatting and laughing throughout that whole thing. But it's like we're never really just like hanging out. And she's amazing. So Yeah, so I love to work. Like, work is...
But it's not work.
It's not work.
Yeah, it's just like, it's happening organically.
Exactly.
It's fun. And it's, again, the arts of it. So we're creatives. We just love to, like, have that going, and it's just flowing. Exactly. And that's beautiful. I mean, I would hope that for everybody, but, you know, stick to your craft and it will come to you too.
Yeah, so no coincidences for sure. We were meant to meet.
Absolutely.
And so after that, I actually want to like mention the fact that at our first meeting, we were at Cafe Social. Shout out to my girls, because that's one of my favorite Norwalk really location, woman owned, family owned. All 3 sisters own it. The head chef is one of the sisters, and then the other 2 owners. I love them dearly. So please go show some support and love. Order that golden turmeric latte because it is the bomb. But anyways, we were sitting down and Shawty came up to us, the waitress at the time.
Oh, yes,
and she was like, I just have to say, you guys look like you're in a New York movie.
Yeah.
I'm going to put the clip. Because this actually reminds me that I never made that TikTok.
Oh, and I just, you did it. Where's the clip, girl? Where's the clip?
Well, let me delete a few messages because it won't even let me upload that joint to TikTok.
Are you serious?
I'm maxed out. Girl, I'm maxed out.
Oh, you're maxed out. Okay. You gotta get you a... I don't know. Okay, so do you pay through iCloud?
I pay for 2 terabytes on iCloud. I got 1 terabyte on this damn phone. I got mad external hard drives. I pay for 2 terabytes on Google Drive. There's just so much content, like over the years, like, and I just love to keep everything. Like, I want to keep my raws to see like how I've changed. I want to keep my edited photos to see how I've changed. Like, you know, so it's just so much. It's just so much.
They gotta get you a phone that's like 20 terabytes.
20 TB.
Minimum.
Hit me. Hit me. Like, come on. I can't.
No, that's crazy. But yeah, you gotta, I just remembered that when you said it. I forgot about that too.
That was so cute. But I'll definitely, I'll put it up here because that was just so cute. We were dressed to impress.
We were kind of, you know.
Yeah. We were doing our thing. Doing our thing for sure. So yeah, we had our first meeting, and it's just like Amber said, it's just flowed ever since. So have you always lived in Connecticut?
No, I'm originally from New York.
Hey,
born in New York.
Still have my 917 area code. Don't play with me, all right?
I never had a New York phone number, but you know, I was born there, and essentially, you know, my mom and my father, who I consider my stepfather, he passed away, but he and my mom and my little sister moved to Connecticut in like 2003. Okay. I finished 8th grade out here. I went to high school, I went to college, and
what part? Like upper?
No, we've always lived in like the New Haven County area. Okay. But I've always been back and forth to New York. Like my family's still out there, cousins, aunts. I have family down south, obviously, family outside the country. But more so, this has always been like the connector state. So, you know, I'm not from Connecticut. I'm from New York, but I have had the commute there over the years, just in my growth. And a lot of people, they don't think I am. People think I'm from like Cali or New York, and that's cool too. I've only been to California once, but you know, thank you. But but no, I'm from New York, and you know, essentially, I always, you know, I do my work out there. Starting to do work more out here, but more so, you know, it's cool if you think I'm from Connecticut. That's fine too. But I'm from
so what part? Oh, here comes the mall music. An hour before opening. Yeah, we're getting on. It's 10 a.m.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So you start hour before.
But what I was going to say was, what part of New York are you from?
So I was born in Harlem, Manhattan. It's kind of gentrified now, but I lived in every borough except for Staten Island. So when I was younger,
Lord.
She said, "Thank God."
I'm sorry, like no shade, but shade. Like y'all are the worst borough.
Oh my God, Stylist, you don't listen to this. But all right. But I mean, I've been to Staten Island, but you gotta get on the boat and all that.
Yeah.
But when I was younger, I moved around a lot. So my backstory is like growing up. I don't want to say in like poverty, but you know, I lived in shelters, and then like my family, my mom, before she met my stepfather, who actually my father, you know, it was just me and her. So, you know, she's kind of like very independent. You know, she was the oldest, and she decided to like move out here. And again, having family family back and forth. She would be back and forth. And so we kind of were like sporadically all around. But I will say that I got the diversification of New York, if that makes sense. Like growing up, different cuisines, different people, family-wise, like, you know, I guess the blends of our melanin and stuff. Like I got cousins that look like you and then darker. So I appreciate that, even though it was tough, but more so, you know, I think that's what New York represents, like a melting pot, you know. It's like a bunch of different people from all ethnicities mixing and flowing and culture-wise, just blending everything. So I feel like that's why I could be in any setting and feel very comfortable. Truth. Yeah, I'm myself. Truth. Like, it don't matter, you feel me? Like, I don't care if you're the lowest, I'm gonna still treat you with respect, if considering that with society's terms, or the highest and still treat you like with respect as long as you give it back to me. So I can appreciate that aspect from like my growth, you know?
I really resonate with that because I too, you know, struggled in my adolescence, or, you know, my mom struggled with finances during my adolescence for sure. But she always put me in like every type of room. And similar to you, she had friends out in Connecticut. So we often would go to Connecticut. Like I've experienced country clubs and went home and ate Spam and cabbage. You know what I mean? Exactly. So I was definitely able to speak to everyone. And something that's interesting that I wanted to bring up on the podcast but didn't know how, but with you, it's so perfect right now. I hosted an event called the Garden Table. Shout out to the Garden Table and everyone who made it possible, especially EJ. And there was a keynote speaker who had a lot of accolades. His resume definitely spoke for itself, right? I think he even got acknowledged by Barack Obama. Like, there was definitely some things on there that piqued my interest. And I was like, okay, so he's, you know. He's a keynote speaker, you know. He said something about networking that kind of disheartened me. He said that you always want to network up and you never want to cross-pollinate. For me personally, I've learned something from the crackhead on the street. I've learned something from people who are, you know, whatever is my level. I learned something from people who are not my level, like him, above me, so to speak, whatever you consider that. But to say that you essentially can't learn from everyone is kind of asinine to me. Like,
I get that.
I feel like you can take something from everything. Literally everything in this life, you can take something if you view the world with that lens. If you view the world as your oyster and there's infinite education and knowledge and experience. Everyone has an experience. So crackhead on the street, he wasn't always that way. Why is he there? He has something to share. So I love that you said that, that like, you know, you can learn from everyone. And I almost wanted to be like, wait, everybody. Because it was like, there was about like 60, 70 people in that room, and I'm like, you know, to be a keynote speaker puts you on this pedestal. I don't want everyone taking what he's saying for fact.
Exactly. You know? And I can understand that because I attended the event and I was there and I asked the question to him, and I think from his standpoint, it's a financial gain because, you know, there's a saying like, if you're the smartest person in the room, you're in the wrong room, and to some extent that could be true, but it's like, what is your goal with being in that room, right? Are you trying to grow yourself individually with like personal growth, mental health, whatever it is, or are you trying to get like business tips and financial advice? Like, I think when you have a focal point of like what you're focusing on for yourself or your business or whatever it is personally, then okay, it could make sense. But also, like, there's nothing wrong with learning from somebody that doesn't have all the knowledge that you have, or even in the same industry. I mean, he mentioned like, if you have somebody that's doing the same thing as you, it's probably not going to be a good business partnership. But I don't think that's necessarily true too, because there might be different perspectives, specialties in what they're doing. Like, I mean, I have a stylist that I'm going to be doing, you know, swap parties with, and she's a stylist as well, but she does a different type of styling. So does that mean like we can't work together? No. So I think, you know, you got to take everything with a grain of salt and use it the way you want to, but it's very much so like, what is your angle? Like, what is actually your focal point and what you're trying to accomplish? And I think that needs to be addressed before you go into a setting, and then get what you're getting from that out of it. You know, if that makes sense. So, but yeah, I definitely agree with you. There's nothing wrong with learning from somebody. I learned from kids.
Yeah,
like, I love kids.
Oh my
they're
God.
funny. They're the most honest people.
The most honest people. And they just have such a vulnerable eye and perspective on life that it almost grounds you.
Yeah,
and it's like, oh wait,
fresh. Yep.
Yeah,
it's very pure and fresh.
Because you have they have no bias at that point. You know, to a certain degree at a certain age. So definitely. Sometimes we just be flowing so hard, I forget to intro. You know what this series is. So right now we're in the process series, right? And so I wanted to focus back on entrepreneurs, business owners, you know, alike, but I didn't want it to be the Be About Your Business series, which was season 2. So I was like, how do I format this to be a little bit different? So honing in on the actual process of how people got from A to B. So diving back into your background, was fashion always Little Amber's passion?
No, so I literally had so many things, and still do, that I want to do. I'm not ever going to be at like a peak of like, oh, I'm just good. When I was younger, I come from, my family is like healthcare and like music. So I have family that's in the industry, and I have family that is very successful in like healthcare, doctors and stuff. And, you know, it's kind of put on you sometimes what to kind of go to. And I'm not saying that was directly from like my mom or father, but I think from like the outside family, like aunts, uncles, it's like, oh, you should be a doctor, or you should go for this. But for me, I wanted to be a writer first. I used to write a lot. I still do, like in high school, poetry. You know, I used to win like first place in like Literary Magazine. And with my words, I kind of started to think about music. Like I had a friend who we were like in this duo. I don't want to say rap, but like more lyricist. You know, Nas is my favorite MC.
We love Nas.
Very good with like words and just like, you know, double meanings behind them and all of that. So for a long time, before I hit like 19, I was gonna pursue that, and then I had this kind of experience in Miami that kind of was like, I don't know if I want to do that. I don't want to sell my soul. And all that. So I kind of was like, and again with the fashion thing, I always like had my own style, and I always was like, you know, thrifting and like buying different things and just putting it in my own way. I was very much a sneakerhead. I always had to get the sneakers with the matching belt and all that. Very much a tomboy. So for me, fashion was always in it, but it wasn't like, oh, I want to be a fashion stylist. I think that came to me when I went to college and kind of saw like different people, and then started getting to more of my like feminine styling of myself, and just like, I guess my early 20s feeling like more of a woman. But my mom, she was always into like different brands and stuff, and a lot of her wear, she doesn't care about any of that now. But I don't know, I just was always a mix of like arts, but then also like education. And even still now, I'm like an engineer by trade, but I also style. So for me, fashion was just always like an underlying thing, but it was never like, yeah, I want to be a fashion stylist when I grow up. But I will say my grandmother, who I never met, she died the same year I was born, I'm named after her. She was heavily into fashion.
Is she Amber or is she Ashley?
She's Amber.
Okay.
So I'm named after her first name. That's my mom's mom. So I never met her. She died the same year I was born. But she was like very much into fashion. And I saw like old pictures of her, like very like pizzazzed out and stuff like that. So I was like, okay, this is probably where it comes from, like innately. But yeah, I mean, I love what I do now, and I continue to do it the way I want to do it. So it's a blessing. You know, I'm grateful for that. So
okay, only if you're comfortable. You like breezed by selling your soul to the devil in Miami.
No, I'll tell you the story.
Yeah, tell me the story. If you comfortable, she was like, because I didn't want to. She was like, because I didn't want to sell my soul. I said, what? You didn't want to sell your what?
You don't want to sell? No, I'll tell you. So okay, she's good. So oh shoot, I'm touching the mic.
It's okay.
Oh man, this is you. You're good, Rennie. Okay, so me and my friend Mario, he's my only male best friend. He's married, has kids. We've been friends since like high school.
I love, because people swear to God there can't be no platonic relationship. Can. You can. Shout out to Mario.
Listen, his sweetheart is Erica Fernandez. He has 3 beautiful sons. Like, they've been together for a very long time, high school sweethearts. But he's dope, and he's very much like a lyricist. So when we were in high school freshman year, you know, we took this cooking class together, and then we met each other, and they were like, yo, we should do music and stuff. Again, I was very much into sneakers and like a sneakerhead. Same was he, other friends of mine. So connection with that and fashion. So through the high school years, we was like, okay, we're going to try to take this seriously. We had a meeting in New York, but it never kind of went the way we wanted to because he ended up having a baby and like getting married and stuff. So I went down to Miami. One of my previous best friends, she was doing, she was at school for fashion merchandising, Johnson & Wales, and she had these 2 friends, and we went to their apartment, and it was the Jay-Z video, On to the Next One with Swiss Beats. And in that video, it's a very much like demonic energy. I don't know if people are like into symbols, but if you are knowing about that, you'll kind of understand what I'm saying. But for some reason, like something like came over me, and I just was like, nah, I don't know if I really want to do music in the way that I feel like I was going to do it, because that meaning I took, like, I was probably potentially going to get signed and like go through, you know, whatever that first step is. But I very, very much felt like I was going to have to sell my soul. And for me, you know, you hear stories about people, like if they don't go through, they might end up dying or just missing and stuff like that. And I was like, no, there's a lot of stuff I still want to do in the world. Like I'm still in college, I want to do this. So I just didn't even like go back to that. But I still write. I just don't have any publicly released music. Like I have a lot of stuff like on my GarageBand, and I've mixed like beats too. People don't know that. I used to do mixes on YouTube stuff, but I don't have anything public. And I performed live poetry before too as well, but me and Mario, we haven't done a set together ever publicly. So it's like we just never kind of went with that. And we'll talk like, oh, you know, we should put out a mixtape and just see what it does. And we were about to do that, but then the beat that we used was already taken. So I don't know, it's just, it kept being like, I don't know if this is some roadblocks. It's always an obstacle. So it's like, you know what, it's not something I would say I'm giving up on, but I don't feel like with the craft of music for me, it has to be like I need to make money from it in the way that these artists want to now. Like if I perform, it'll be because I want to perform. And I remember, it's funny I mentioned Jay-Z again, but there was like an interview he did, and he was like, if you're like a pure artist and a true artist, you could just make music in your basement. Like it'll never be released. It'll just be for your consumption or for your close friends. And for me, that was kind of my angle, because I'm not necessarily looking for money. I know I could potentially be very successful with it, but you know, the industry is funny. And I have, again, family that's in the industry, very successful. My cousin is Diamond D, who was like a producer for the Fugees. So it's like, I don't know, like that could have been nepotism for me. Okay, just put me on. But like, no, I'll work hard as much as I need to and get on my own way. But yeah, I don't know. That was just kind of like something that came over me. I was just like,
you felt that energy.
So, and I'm very much like with energies, like if it don't feel right,
it ain't right.
It ain't right. Exactly. Yeah, it ain't right. So let me halt and let me pivot.
Redirect.
So that's kind of what happened with that. But yeah, girl, it was kind of crazy. And I was only like 19. You know? That was my first time flying too by myself. I flown to Miami, visited her, stayed in her dorm, and then we went to her friend's house, and it was just like weird. It was just like, what the hell is going on? Like,
good on you. Good on you for trusting your gut. Especially at such a young age. You second guess yourself a lot.
Absolutely. And I made mistakes too with like, obviously life, but that was just weird as hell. And then that was when I got into all the like, you know, YouTube was very fresh at the time, so a lot of people were on there, like Young Pharaoh, Conspiracy, and like the real truth of things. And so I was heavily into like just doing my research on like just meanings and spirits and energies and what does this mean. And so I go off of that, and that's why when talking to people, I don't know, I like to dig deeper into like what they're saying. You know, we mentioned an individual we just talked about before this, but but yeah, it's just like, what do you mean? Like, you know, like it's very surface level if we're gonna just say what we're saying, but like, what do you mean by that? And you shouldn't, I mean, I get it. People are going to have their feeling and their responses about something, but you shouldn't get offended.
I always say it's not about what you say, it's how you say it.
Because I've been called combative. I've been called like, oh, she thinks she knows everything, or she's high diddy and stuff. And it's like, that's subjective. Maybe I do feel like that. I'm very confident. But at the same time, I'm not saying things to you to be malicious. No. I'm really trying to get understanding, because you literally said that to me. Right. I didn't invite that conversation. So excuse me if I asked questions. Did it. No, we did not. We really did not. And it's on Rennie if she wants to talk about that. I'll let her talk about it. But we sure did not. And I was just like, okay, so like, what do you mean? Right. What does this mean? So, you know, like, if I'm asking these questions, it's because I really am curious. Yeah, like, I want to know. Exactly. So. For sure.
So a thought that I had while you were talking about your musical background,
my music.
Yes, was, I don't know, like, every time someone's talking, like, my wheels are always turning, and I like keep my mouth shut, because I'm like, practice listening. I know you want to say something, but practice listening. But I don't know, just like with the outfit video, what we created in the mall and having so much like combative nature. It's like
I need to stop moving. I'm listening.
So much like combative nature with how we were like, you know, creating content and using their space. It's actually interesting. No one ever got back to me. JP? Call me.
Oh, you didn't?
No. Anyways, I'll follow up via email. But so yeah, there was so much combative nature with what we were doing at the time, yet we still came out with like a really good product.
Really nice.
And so my wheels were turning. I was like, oh my God, her music, and you know, she doesn't want to use it like to make money, but like she could use it for herself. I don't know. I was thinking like spoken word, fashion, like doing like some type of YouTube video where we like
use my original music in my videos.
Yeah, I think that would be great. Like even like, just like some spoken word, different outfit. We would really have to conceptualize it, but I think that would be a dope next project.
Let's do it.
Yeah, I'm down for that. I'm down for that.
Okay.
So going back to your process, going back to, you know, we were talking about you as a kid, you in high school, moving into college. What did you go to college for? Because you kind of said you reinvigorated that part of yourself, your style and your fashion in college.
Right. So I did want to go to school for fashion when I got to a point of like, okay, you know, what would kind of be something that is like cool to do and also a trajectory of like what I would like to do for the future. And fashion was, you know, something that I did decide. I had basically I still have this notebook, but I wrote down civil engineering, fashion styling, criminology, and one more thing. I can't remember what the last one. Oh, cooking. Oh my God, cooking. I forgot this part of my life. Wow, that's crazy. No, I wanted to be a culinary chef too.
Wow.
I wanted to go to school, I'm going to say it wrong, but it's in Hyde Park, New York. It's the Culinary Institute of America. So I wanted to do that, and I went to a college tour at Johnson & Wales in the Rhode Island branch. Okay. So I saw how that went. But what happened with that was I was like, you know what is my goal with cooking? And I was like, I just want to open a restaurant at some point. And I realized you don't need a degree to do that. So I didn't want to waste time, so to speak, to go to school for that. Although you can still do that and like have different specialties with cooking and all this stuff. But that just wasn't something I was like,
it wasn't a necessity.
Right. So I went to school for civil engineering, which is essentially the eyes behind the hands of construction, is in the most layman terms I could put it, but more of the technical part. So like how something is formed, these columns, how did they build this? What's the math behind it? What's the physics behind it? And
what is that demographic like? Like, is it male dominated?
Yeah, it's very much
white male dominated.
Yeah, it's very much white male dominated. It's very much no black women in there. I was the first black woman to graduate my college with that degree. Yeah, I don't talk about all these accolades.
What year?
2016.
Jesus, my God.
Yeah, it's crazy, and even
the first.
See,
that's the craziest thing is like, as black people, we are still having first in 2023, and that is just abysmal.
Nasty. That's nasty.
Like, how?
Yeah, it's nasty. Yeah,
but go on.
It's literally, and even now, like, I'm the only black woman that works in my district for DOT. So like, I encourage, like, I think I just posted a couple of these. I went to this, you know, meeting in at the University of Hartford for the American Society of Civil Engineers, and it was only in that entire meeting, 3 women, and me and my friend Fadia, she's Haitian, she's an engineer as well, but we are the only 2 black women, and then there was another woman with us too. But we need more women, but the thing is, a lot of women are not interested in this type of work, so to speak, but I feel like a lot of women don't know about it because we're kind of pushed into like the secretarial, the nursing, maybe the arts, more stuff that is
interior design instead of architecture.
Exactly. And there's women that do that, but you don't hear their names. I mean, there was these 2 black women. I forgot I should know their names right now.
But you don't hear their names. Amber actually forgot.
And I forgot their names. That's horrible right now. I know she was gonna talk about my engineering stuff, but I should know their names. But these 2 black women, they worked in New York in like the 60s, and you know, I should have learned about them, right? But I didn't. So I had to do like my own due diligence, my own research to like know their story, and I should know their names, but I apologize. But you know, for me, it was something like I wanted to see what was behind construction, because you can easily go to a trade school and get like your welding, you know, certificate, or get like, you know, masonry, whatever that is. But I wanted to kind of have like, what does it take to actually build a mall, or build a theater, or like build a playground, these type of things. And you have to be a PE, which is a principal engineer, get licensed, and then you can actually like open a firm and like actually have drawings stamped and be like, okay, this is, you know, acceptable to be built, and then you have a whole team that does everything else. But for me, it was interesting, and every day is different. Like, I have a very flexible job. No 2 days are the same. You know, I run projects, so now I have people that like work under me, and I have people in the field. But I've been on that climb. Like, I started in the field, outside, all weather types, like inspecting, even working in New York, like curtain wall facades, all these things, fireproofing, like knowing all these things. And I love math. So that's another thing. A lot of people don't like math. So I feel like there's a way to make it fun and interesting. I just feel like there needs to be more people that are out there talking about it. I feel like there's a lot of men that are in this field, obviously. And even like there's a lot of Indian men, a lot of African men as well that come from other countries. And it might come off as boring. You know, I can see that even in school. Like, some of my professors were of other ethnicities, and you're not all in sync. You know, even the dialect is different. But there are ways to make it fun. There was only 1 female professor at the time there, Bin Zhao, and she's Asian. So it was like, there are people that are in this field. It's just not publicized.
Yeah, so I'm glad you're talking about it today. That's awesome.
I appreciate this outlet to
yeah,
talk about it. Because I was going to get into that actually. I don't know, like I know how we met back with like me getting back into fashion and my whole rebranding, but I was like, maybe this is a pivot for me to like more focus on engineering, because I've been doing both simultaneously for, I mean, since I graduated professionally, but even in school, engineering as well. But like, you know, it's something that I don't want to give up. I'm not one of those people that hates my job and like hates what I do. I actually love what I do. And I do, you know, I'm about to get my PE, and I'm studying for that. But I also love fashion too, so I kind of want to combine both. And with the fashion technical component, like when you get fashion design and you get like sketches made, and you know, you get them actually drawn professionally, CAD is what a lot of these designers use,
and which is that an acronym?
Yeah, computer aid drafting. Okay. So that's more of the design component. Like when you're actually gonna build a building and you have to see it on a computer, maybe you need to see it 3D. You go on this software and you actually like do your points, do your lines, and you can see it, you can turn it. So this is the same thing for like clothing. You can see it 3D. How is it gonna fall on a person? So these kind of intertwine, but it's not as like intricate. Yeah, it's not. Yeah, so
it's like if you can find the gray and how they match, but it's not like, oh yeah, this and this, obviously. Like no, it's not so
exactly.
obvious.
And that was something I found out in fashion, like when I was just doing my own due diligence. But yeah, we need more people in it. You know, I encourage more women to learn, and at some point I do want to talk more about it. I just feel like I want to do that after I get my PE license, right? Because I'll have even more experience. Like I have a lot of field experience, but a lot of stuff that I do is proprietary too. So that's why it's like I can't just go out and show you plans. Right. Like a lot of it is kind of internal. So that's another struggle too. You know, but once I have my own firm, I will be able to do that. So
love that. So going back to fashion, is there a specific like certification or like stamp of approval that you needed before really like getting your feet wet? Like,
no. So the interesting thing is when I started, I didn't know how to become like a fashion stylist. Like there was no actual school to say, okay, you want to become a fashion stylist, come here.
Yeah.
What happened was when I was in college, I became VP of our fashion design club, and it was basically kind of closed down because it was just Tamika Harvey. Shout out to her.
Oh my God, I never paid for parking.
I didn't either. Are they gonna like tow our car, or
Huh?
are they gonna tow it?
No, they won't tow it. I just don't want a ticket.
A ticket. Fuck it now.
That is crazy of me. Oh, Lord. So if you could talk to little Amber, right? How old were you when you started, like, kind of trying to figure out how to get in the industry?
I would say 19.
19.
That's when I got this tat, ISTM, which is Individuality Speaks to Me. That's when I did, the fashion show. The first fashion show I ever did was at college. First flown on a plane in Miami. Like a lot of things were a lot of firsts for me at that age. So I would say with the fashion aspect, it was something I was like, okay, how do I do this seriously?
Yeah, okay. So seriously. What would you tell a 19-year-old in 2023?
Oh my God.
Like what
would I tell my younger self?
What would you give Amber right now if you could, with all that you know now? Think about it. Marinate on it.
I mean, what keeps coming to me is like, keep going.
Yeah.
Which I continuously do. Like I keep going, and I am relentless. I am fearless. I think don't give too many chances. I'm very forgiving, but I also to a fault of myself sometimes. But I also look at it as a learning experience about myself too. Like I try to look at the glass half full in a lot of instances.
Yeah, if I hadn't gone through this,
who would I, where would I be?
Exactly. I'm sorry. It's just funny that they.
Oh, they are around.
Like a damn bagel. Let me tell you something. The Sono Mall.
No, listen.
Security be on it.
For real. It's like 4. Oh, they okay.
At it like a crack addict, as I say. I'm like, y'all ain't got nothing to do up in here.
Nothing.
Like,
listen, I got something to do.
Right.
Okay, I'm gonna bring you down to Meal for Mall. Let me stop. But yeah, my younger self, I don't have anything negative to say. It's more so just like stay fearless, stay relentless, stay positive, keep growing.
Is there like a cheat code you give yourself? Like,
I would say put more money into like, at that time, obviously I was spending way more on like clothes and like just being on the scene, so to speak, which wasn't a bad thing again.
Right.
Just, like,
it's all part of that process.
But I would say put more money into like self-education, like what I do a lot more now, like courses, continuing education, just things that are more like investing in oneself with knowledge, right?
Yeah, because no one can take that away
exactly.
from you.
Books, reading books, I do that. My goal last year was to read a book a week. I think I got that from Anne Marie. Anne Marie on the Breakfast Club said she was doing that. But
book a week?
Yeah, she was doing a book a week. I forgot what I was saying.
I forgot too, but listen, this is part of the process, baby. So
the clothing, you were like saying, so there's self-education now.
Self-education.
And I was saying Anne Marie, I got like, she was on Breakfast Club and she was talking about how
a book a week.
A week. And I couldn't read a book a day, honestly, if I really wanted to. I read a book when getting my hair done before in a day. It wasn't crazy thick. It was probably like this thick. But I've done that.
You know what? Yeah. Thank you for saying that, because I've never brought a book to braiding.
Oh, do it.
I'm going to bring Will Smith's book to braiding, because God bless my hairstyle. Love her to death. Momo, you the best, right? She's actually one of my close friends, Jamal's cousin. But you know, we there for a minute, and like sometimes like when you know your stylist or like your brow lady or it's just like I don't want to talk to them.
The whole thing,
like
get you in your zone,
right? So I'm gonna bring that book. That's a good like you know talk for the first like hour or whatever. But that's a good idea. I'm gonna do.
They get in their zone, you get in your zone.
Yeah, exactly. I love that. I'm gonna do that for sure.
No problem. But now I read a book a month. I'm trying to do at least a book a month. Again, just on like financial wealth and investing, and also like self-help and personal growth and other things that are just like not all like whatever, like food, whatever.
I usually have a nonfiction and a fiction, and the nonfiction is usually self-help or like further education, and then the fiction is just like they're starting to make young adult books, YA books, which are like, you know, like college, high school but with black characters. So I grew up reading about like white problems and white people and you know all this like I was looking at her blue eyes and you know like black people can naturally have blue eyes, but it's just not like the norm. So when I went into, I think it was like Borders is closed. It was probably Barnes and Noble. And I was like, wow, there's a whole section of brown story. It was like brown stories or like black stories, and I was like, oh hell yeah! So I got like 3 or 4 like young adult novels where like, you know, they're talking about curly, kinky hair, and they're talking about brown skin, and they're talking about, you know, being mixed race and having a white dad and a black mom and not feeling like, you know, whatever. It's just really cool to like tap into something I loved as a kid, but like for me now, it's like, this is like, you know, a representation of us. So
I love that.
I truly love that. Okay, so because now we're not getting kicked out, but shit is picking up in the mall. Let me tell you. Yeah. So what's in store for the future? What can everyone watching expect?
Well, you're going to see this girl, of course, because we're working together. So we got a lot of projects on the way. You're going to see new content from me. A lot of the stuff on my Instagram is a little bit just from last year. It's not like old, but I'm repurposing that because I'm on my new old page. As you may or not know. But just going to be like just more styling work, more YouTube work. I'm going to be doing events more so too. So because people are more outside and a little lax with the whole like see.
See,
I don't know, because I know on YouTube they so,
not the crib,
not the see, okay. But and then also traveling, like just more stuff that is just more like of what I have done, like for my craft and for styling. And then towards the end of the year, I'm gonna revive my clothing line. So if you weren't aware, I started it in 2017, and my whole like thing was to do it every other year. But the second year, 2019, I was helping a friend of mine with her line, so I took a step back. But I'm gonna renaming it. I'm gonna be doing just a whole different thing. I did like my first, you know, drafts and everything, and never released it. So I'm gonna get back with like my pattern maker and all that stuff. Ooh, so it's just like,
I'm excited for that.
Thank you. It's gonna be just new stuff with clothing, and then I also am gonna get my PE, so with engineering, I'm gonna get that this year. I'm gonna be starting a new like business with that, but nothing public yet. It's just in the beginning stages, and just keep growing. You know, I gotta get my fitness thing together too. Got a little fupa situation, but Rennie, you know, she used to do fitness, so hopefully get some tips from her. And just like, you know, all around have a more healthier lifestyle, more positive life. Making new friends. I've a lot of friends I've had for years, like over a decade and a half. I'm not friends with them anymore, and that's no love lost. It's no love lost. It's just like it's growth. Honestly, at this age, I have friends who I'm still friends with from like middle school, high school, but I'm in the season to like make new connections, make new friends, and just keep building. Even if it doesn't have to always be about business. Like I think sometimes I come across like that. I will say for myself, because I'm like, you want to work together? Okay, let's do this.
I definitely come off like that.
But you know, like, girl, if you just want to hang out, come over. You know, That's fine too. Like, you know, I'm trying to stay productive with that too.
I know you said the fitness thing. I'm always looking for a hiking buddy. It's kind of scary going on trails. You know, even with the dogs, it's like I feel even more vulnerable because then shit, if someone trying to attack me, I gotta scoop these two little Amber effers.
No, I'm down. I want to do that.
And I love going like up your way for hiking trails because there's more mountains and there's like less than here. You know,
giant. Yep.
Yeah. So let's do that.
I'm down.
That's some non-work things we could do together.
We can. So I'm down to do all of that, and of course travel. We're gonna do stuff out of the state, out of the country.
So excited.
So listen, just stay tuned. It's gonna be a lot of stuff. It's gonna be a lot
for sure. Okay, so I'm gonna have all of Amber's links down below where you can find her, where you can keep up with her. She has a website. She has a TikTok. She has an Instagram. She has Facebook.
No, I don't have no Facebook.
No FB.
No Facebook.
Okay. But all of her links will be down below, and you'll be seeing her very soon. So you won't miss her too much. All right, bye guys. Perfect.
This was awesome.
Killed it.
Great job, girl.